Hi guys, welcome back to the start of a new video. If you guys are new here, my name is Nisha. If you are a returning subby, thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, we are going to be doing my labor and delivery story of my surprise.
So before we get in, I do want to say that it wasn't a surprise to me, but it was a surprise to you guys.
So if you guys are interested in knowing my labor and delivery, everything that transpired, then make sure that you guys stay tuned. Make sure you guys subscribe and join. I post motherhood, lifestyle, business, a little bit of business, entrepreneurship, and all of that jazz. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, make sure you guys subscribe. And let's kind of, let's get started. So first things first, thank you guys for all the love on the video, the surprise. We had a baby. Like I said, this journey to baby was a little bit different. If you guys aren't new here, then you know that I actually have PCOS, that I struggle with PCOS, and I also documented my journey to baby number 2 during that process. However, with this pregnancy, we kept it personal. We kept it private. We didn't share anything. So no one, well, a couple of family and friends knew, but in general, no one really knew. So it was a surprise to all. So my labor and delivery story is as such. I'll insert clips and videos within. So I was due January 22nd. However, at 38 weeks, I had been feeling tired. I had been feeling lower back pain. Just a lot of pain. I was just ready. I also struggle with chronic hypertension, which means that I've basically had hypertension or high blood pressure all of my adult life, to be quite frank. Maybe since I was a teenager. In my late teens is when I got diagnosed, but I've been actively taking prescription medicine for my blood pressure since I had my first son, and that was 6.5 years ago. So we knew throughout the whole pregnancy that I had high blood pressure. However, my numbers and readings for my blood pressure every time I went to the doctor were normal the whole pregnancy. But I had to do NSTs, which is non-stress tests, which started around 32 weeks. And we had kind of talked about, my goal was to go into labor spontaneously, meaning no induction, no C-section or anything of that nature. It was to naturally, my water breaks on its own or my body starts contracting on its own, which I never experienced with any of my previous pregnancies, nor did I experience with this pregnancy. So I was going to NSTs twice a week. And on this specific day, which was January 12th, I actually had an NST before my 38-week appointment. And for NSTs, it's twice a week. So you go in, you do a urine sample to make sure there's no protein. So that means no evidence of preeclampsia. They check my blood pressure. They count his kicks. And then they also would measure the fluid based upon an ultrasound or whatever. So if everything looked great, they would, send you home, and then they'll see you at your next appointment. If not, then they would send you to evaluation and labor and delivery and all of that jazz. So on this 38-week NST appointment, I went in. They said there was a little trace in my urine. And then they did my blood pressure. My blood pressure was elevated. And the kicks and everything was normal. Oh, excuse me. It was normal. Fluid was normal. And then they went ahead and sent me home. So I went to my doctor's appointment, and I had already, like I said, I was already feeling kind of like, oh my God, I don't want to do this another week. I do not want to go 40 weeks. I had tried to induce labor a little bit naturally. I did do a little bit of bouncing on the ball. I drank a lot of raspberry leaf tea, but I didn't do anything like with my previous pregnancy. Towards the end, I did the castor oil. I did the midwife. No, did I do the brew? Midwife's brew? I don't think I did that, but I did drink the castor oil with orange juice. I did the curb walks, the baby dancing, and all of that with my second pregnancy. So with this pregnancy, I was like, you know what? I did a little bit of walking. I drank a lot of raspberry tea, but that was about it. Because, there's all these different ways of how people say you can induce labor. Yeah, none of that worked for me. So anyways, I went to my 38-week appointment at my doctor's office. And again, my blood pressure was extremely elevated, which this was the first time that of all of my appointments, my whole pregnancy, that my blood pressure was really elevated. So my doctor came in, and the nurse practitioner, which I absolutely love my doctor. I love my nurse practitioner. Oh my God. We would be dying laughing. They were everything, which as a Black woman in the healthcare system, when you're pregnant. Oh my God, like it's, you know, it's a dime a dozen. Anyways, so they were like, you know, Miss Baker, what's going on with your blood pressure? And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired. And at 37 weeks, my nurse practitioner was like asking me, you know, how I felt mentally, physically, and everything. And I told her, you know, I'm okay. But that 38 week, I was like, yeah, no, this is it. I'm not leaving without a baby. So, so they, I was going to ask for a membrane sweep, but I had heard that sometimes you can get a membrane sweep and it not work. And I didn't want to go through all the pain because I knew cervical checks was just not my friend. So anyways, they did a cervical check on me. It did not hurt. She was just like, you know, let me know, like, you know, how it felt or whatever. And I was at a 1 centimeter. I was very high. My cervix was high and closed. It was high and closed. Heartbeat was great, but my blood pressure was elevated. So she was like, let's just go ahead. And I asked her, I was like, can I just be induced today? Like, I'm ready. I have all my bags packed. I had my car seat installed. My 2 older boys, Tamir and Tasai. Tamir's 6.5. Tasai will be 3 in a couple of weeks. He's our leapy baby. They were both at school and daycare, so I was just like, I'm ready. I was hoping and praying for a quick labor, which I actually kind of had this time, which I'm going to get into that. We're getting there. So anyways, she said, yes, let's go. So do labor delivery now. Go ahead and get your blood taken, and we're going to go ahead and start. Now, this time, I did not want to have Cervidil. With my first and second, I had Cervidil inserted, which is a little pill that they insert in your vaginally in between your cervix and the sac, I believe, to start contractions. However, I had told her, like, you know, I don't want to do that, which worked out in my favor because that hospital didn't even do Cervidil vaginally. Thank God. So I got to labor and delivery around 12 o'clock. I did all my paperwork. They checked me into my room. When I checked into my room, I was greeted by 2 nurses. So there was a new travel nurse that was coming in, and then there was an actual already nurse who was in that unit. So they basically, you know, got me undressed and everything. And then I had lunch, and we took our first dose of Cytotec? Is it Cytotec? Okay, I have my notes over here. So anyways, so I got there at 12. They went to lunch. I had lunch, and then we started our first dose of Cytotec at 12:15. So my doctor said that the plan was for me to take Cytotec, and then hopefully when she came back later around 6 or 7 was to break my water. However, for me, with the first dose of Cytotec, I walked around the labor and delivery ward, and nothing happened. I wasn't having really any contractions or anything of that nature. And it was time for me to get a second dose. So the doses were about like every 4 hours or so, 4 or 5 hours or so. So at 7 o'clock, I got my second dose, and I started to feel a little bit of contractions. It was picking up on the monitor, but it wasn't anything crazy. For me, when I would lay down on my back, they would be able to monitor the baby's heartbeat really, really well. However, when I would turn to my left or turn to my right, which, you know, it's recommended to on your left because it helps with the oxygen flow to the baby, they weren't able, like, either he would kick the monitor or he would move a certain way, so they couldn't really track his heartbeat that way. So what they ended up doing for me, thankfully, is they gave me a Bluetooth, like a portable kick monitor, which was really cool. So they just used like tape, and they taped this thing on my stomach, and it was able to track the baby without me being confined to the bed. So after that, they checked me again, and I was still, my cervix was still high and tight. I mean, it was still high. My cervix was really soft, they said, but I was still closed. I was about a 1. So I got my third dose around 11 p.m. It's still Thursday. They let me eat again. Did I eat? Yeah, I ate again. Terry, which is my husband, he went and got dinner, and then I was able to eat again, and then they gave me my third dose at 11 p.m. So this is where it gets fun. So my doctor came in because she had another delivery. So she said that if I wanted to, of course, it was always up to me, which she would come back and insert the Foley balloon. So the first thing I did was I went to TikTok and I watched this woman who said that she also had the Cytotec. And at the same time they did the Cytotec, they did the Foley balloon, and it caused her to dilate, contract, and then within a couple of hours, maybe like 2-3 hours, she had her baby. So I was just like, you know what? Yeah, let's go for it. So I had never had the balloon, so I was a little scared. But she came back at 12. When she came back to check me, I was 3 centimeters, 3 to 4 centimeters, and I was 70% effaced. She said my cervix was still soft, but it was still kind of high. So she was like, let's go ahead and insert the balloon, and that should help progress labor. So at 12 o'clock, she came back with her assistant. She, a medical student. She inserted the Foley balloon, and then the medical student put the saline in it. So she put the saline in it, and they left it in for about an hour. After about an hour, my regular nurse, the travel nurse that was there, she took the Foley balloon out, and then I was 4 centimeters, and the contractions were hitting. I was starting to feel them instantly. I was like, okay, let's get that epidural. I had 2 epidurals with my first son. The reason I had to have 2 with him was because the first one actually wore off. So the second anesthesiologist came in. They tried to push the solution in, but I was still feeling pain. So she did a second one. And then once they did the second one, no issues. With my second son, the anesthesiologist did it once, and I instantly felt it. So this anesthesiologist came in I think my note says he came in around 110. So he came in around 110. He was really nice. He communicated very well with me, which I personally loved, because I just feel like it's important to help with nerves and just management for you to know what's going on. So he was like, hi, Miss Baker, I'm Dr. whatever. I'm going to be doing your epidural. I'm going to be inserting it. So, we got into the position. All right. So once I got into the position, which is relax your shoulders, hedged over, down. Oh my God, it's such an uncomfortable position. He was pushing in my back to feel my spine. And he asked me a key question, which I had never been asked before. And as a plus size woman who has larger breasts, I've always had lower back pain ever since I was a young girl. I remember having back pain all the way into my early teens or whatever, maybe 12, 13. When I went to the doctor, then they would say oh, you're wearing the wrong breast size or things of this, bra size, or something of that nature. No one ever really looked at my back or anything. And then I even went to a chiropractor after I had my second son because I was having back pain, and I just thought it was, maybe it was from the epidural or whatever. He never said anything. This anesthesiologist, he was pushing it on my back, and he was just like, has anyone ever told you had scoliosis? And I was like, no. And he's like, your back is it may be a little difficult. So I'm like, what does he mean? Because immediately I've always said that I'm not the woman to have a natural birth. That's just not for me. I believe in pain management, and I feel like if God created them to be able to manage the pain of labor, which is equivalent to so many bones being broken and all that stuff, I need the epidural. So he's pushing in, and he's just oh, this may be a tough one. And I'm like, oh my God. So he goes in and he pokes me the first time. And as he's putting the solution in, he's like, tell me where you feel it, on your left or your right or your middle. I'm like, on my left. And he's like, are you sure? You should feel it on your right. And I'm like, no, I feel it on my left. 4 times. And I'm just, by the 3rd time, he's like, Ms. Baker, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to even do this epidural. He was like, it's not really working for me. And he's like, in my 24 years, he's like, I've never not been able to do it. And he was like, there's another anesthesiologist. Mind you, this is at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, there's another person coming in at 7 a.m. Maybe they'll be able to do it. And I'm like, absolutely not. If I'm already 3-4 centimeters, I'm going to be fully dilated by that time. And I can't push this baby out with an epidural. So I try to remain calm. But in my mind, I'm thinking, no, absolutely not. So he's like, thank you so much for being patient. He's like, you're in a great position. He was just he's pushing in my back. So there's 4 needle pokes in my back from him trying to putting the epidural in. So I'm like praying hard, and I'm like, let's try it one more time. So on the 4th time, he pushes it in and he's like, where do you feel it? And I'm like, oh, I feel it in the middle. Thank God. Because the other times I kept feeling it on the left side. So he had to go in to the right or to the left. I don't know. He had to go in a certain type of way. And he was just like, oh, I'm glad I was able to do it for you. He was like, because I was praying. I was like, I was praying hard too. So the nurse, myself, my husband, and the anesthesiologist, we laughed. And thankfully he put it in. And then within a couple of minutes, I felt nothing. Thank God. So I was fully numb. And around 4 a.m., they came back to check me. And I was about a 6.5, 7. And I was at a 1/0 stage. So, you know, like as the baby comes down into position, I was at 0/1. So, excuse me. So that was around 4 a.m. And again, I woke up really, really numb. And my nurse kept coming in to check my blood pressure. They were checking my signs and everything. And I was telling her, like, I feel like I have to push. So if you never delivered a baby, this may be TMI, but it feels like you have to have a bowel movement. That's the best way I can say it. Okay, so as the time progressed, within the hour, I kept telling her, I feel pressure. I feel like, it's about time. And I knew because I had 2 other children. So I know what that pressure feels like. But I couldn't feel my legs. Like, my legs were great numb. And thank God. Like, they were so numb, like, oh my God, like, they were heavy. I had to have Tayari help me push. Because at this time, I was laying on my left. They took the other readings that I had on, the one that I told you guys they put on my stomach, and they put the original old-fashioned ones back on, the pink and blue one, to track the contractions and the heartbeat. And at this point, contractions were coming every 2 minutes or less. And I wasn't feeling them, thank God, but I could see them on the monitor. So at this time, I continued to feel pressure, and then it was about 5 a.m., and I was fully soft. I was dilated to a 9.5, 10. She had to have another nurse come in because she was like, I think she's fully dilated. And the other lady was like, yeah, I think she is too. And then we started practice pushes because she said that even though my cervix was soft and that I was fully dilated to a 10, she was like, the baby is still kind of...
Mommy.
The baby still needs to come down some more.
Mommy.
Yes?
My crackers.
These mommy's crackers.
Okay,
I'll hold it. Go ahead. Go that way.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Close the door for mommy. Thank you. So yeah, like I was saying, I continued to do practice pushes. They called my doctor around 5:30, 5:45. She got there at 6 o'clock on the dot. So as she was starting to suit up, at 6 o'clock, she was like, all right, let's go ahead and start pushing. So I started pushing at like 6:05, maybe 6:10. I pushed once, and she was like, okay, Ms. Baker, push one more time. And I gave it all my all, and I pushed. And in 2 pushes, baby came out at 6:17 in the morning. He was 6 pounds, 14 ounces, 18.25 inches. And he was born on Friday, January 13th, 2023. So, so we have our baby Taven Noah. He came out perfectly healthy. I did tear a little bit. I had like 2 or 3 stitches that did dissolve. He is now officially 3 weeks and a day. Today's Saturday. So yeah, so he's 3 weeks and 1 day. He is completely everything that I could have hoped for. After I delivered, however, my blood pressure did elevate extremely high, which was very scary. We did the hour of skin to skin. I decided on no eye ointment, no hepatitis shot, but he did get the vitamin K shot. And as he was getting cleaned up, we had to stay in labor and delivery in that section because they had to get my blood pressure down. So they had to give me a lot of the blood pressure medicine in the IV. And then I also took orally blood pressure medicine. So it took I delivered him around 6. It took about 2 hours or so, maybe 3, for them to get my blood pressure back down. as they got my blood pressure back down, I had to still wait in that postpartum room, which was a really nice suite, until they transferred me to the other side. So, to recovery, postpartum. And this is Taven Noah. Yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comment section below.